Folks, welcome back to another Painting Minis with Dan and Sam video. Today we've got a pretty cool episode set up for you. Dan's going to be taking care of the Zoner 3 or Scrub Mini from one of the Combat Zoners pack, and I'll be taking care of the Daring Tech, or Tech 2 I believe is what it is, from one of the Edge Runners pack. These are minis that can be used in R. Talsorian's Cyberpunk Red RPG, or we have a new game coming out this year called Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone, and all of these minis are going to be usable in that board game, tabletop skirmish game as well. So, without further ado, let's get down to the table. Let's get painting.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Painting with Dan and Sam. Today we're going to be painting the Combat Zoner 3 from the Combat Zoners faction for Cyberpunk Red. So we're going to get started right away with some small details here. His Cadian flesh tone skin, just on his hands and around his eyes. They do try and keep their identity covered as much as possible. But he's got a nice gray sweatshirt. Everyone's got a hoodie like this, so I went with Dawnstone here, getting good coverage around it, trying to really highlight the jacket, which we will paint shortly. Switching over to Xandri Dust on the pants. You guys have seen I've used this color a lot here, but it's one of my favorites. It gets nice solid coverage and it works really great for khaki pants and things like that, especially when you throw a wash onto them. But just making sure I cover as much of the model as possible here while trying to stay neat. And we're going to switch over to another contrast paint. So this is going to be Talsar Blue. I really like this blue because it gives you a vibrant color on the highlights, but also some deep recesses there. You can see just trying to be as neat as possible. You can kind of go crazy with contrasts, so just take your time with that. Some Fiston Red for the bandana covering his face, really starting to build some character. Dryad Bark over his boots. A little contrast against the khaki Xandri Dust here. But you can see the model's already starting to come together, and we've only put a few paints on there. So, a little Corvus Black onto the hat. Lead Belcher onto the weapon, and also to the gun on his backpack. Some metal buckles. But ultimately just trying to stay in that unique color uniform that we've been painting with the other Combat Zoners. So I wanted a nice pop of color here, so I switched to Averland Sunset with these great details grooved into his jacket sleeves. So painting here, just trying to be as neat as possible, not getting it onto the blue. Following the model's character and everything, trying to get this, as vibrant of a color to really represent just the great color palettes that is in Night City. So I started off with Basilicanum Gray, this contrast for the backpack, and I did not like it right away. So once that dried, I switched over to Deathworld Forest. Now again, just like the other models I've painted, Deathworld Forest is a unique color that's been added to pretty much all of the models in this faction, so it kind of ties everybody together. But I really like how it came out with the backpack. So once that was done, we give the model the classic wash with Agrax Earthshade. It ties all these colors in together, gives you those nice natural shadows in the deep recesses, bringing these models to life. You can see it works with the blue, it works with the khaki, it works on the gray. It's just a really great wash to help bring your models to life. Once that's fully dry, then we go back and touch up the colors we want the absolute brightest. So back to that Averland Sunset Yellow on the jacket. And you can see it really starting to make these colors pop against the recesses and shades that we've put on there with the wash. Back to Dawnstone here for the jacket, for the sweatshirt. Bringing it back up on the high ridges and the flat patches here. Next, we switch over to our Xandri Dust again. Again, just the high folds and creases of these pants really gives it that natural fabric look. Just touching up here and there, just following the grooves set by the model. Again, you can see there's tons of detail in this model, and just a little bit of paint and effort really helps bring them to life. Next, we go back over the Deathworld Forest on the coat. On the backpack. And again, this is the highest straps, the big flat patches and everything. Help clean it up a bit. A little bit more metal on the weapons, the belt buckle, some extra buttons I put on, some straps on the backpack. Give it a nice little pop of silver here and there, helps break up the other bland colors that we may have. Touching up the skin, help clean it up, makes it look like he's not so dirty. I didn't paint the eyes on this model, but you can see just a couple quick base coats, a wash, and then touching up those base coats again, you get some really great quality models with a little bit of effort. So thanks for tuning in. Keep watching as we keep painting great models from Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Sam, and here on the Daring Tech, I have used a white Scar base coat from Citadel, and it's pretty good coverage. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Alien Purple. Now she has kind of a jumpsuit that's going on here, so at least that's what I'm envisioning it. So I really like this purple. I used it on the exec's suit on the last one, and I really enjoyed using it. I liked the way it looked. So this model also uses the purple color, so Alien Purple is what I went with. We're going to touch it up with highlights with Orc Blood later on. Using Barbarian Flesh here for her face and her hands. And that's the only 2 bits of skin that we actually see on this miniature, so really easy peasy Barbarian Flesh here. Now I'm using some leather brown for the her belt packs and the different satchels she has going around her waist and legs. So really just a real basic brown color that I enjoy. I'll come back later on with some monster brown and highlight some of those details on those different parts of the Mini. Also going to use it for her boots down below as well. Like I said, just a basic brown for those pieces of the Mini. Now I'm moving on to the gun, and this is just a gun metal that I'm using here. Basic, real simple, and we'll come back later on with shining silver to touch up all of these places. Using the gunmetal on the apparatus that's going up over her shoulder, and the harness that kind of rests on her shoulder and kind of goes around her neck as well. So that's pretty cool. Shining silver will be used to touch up all of that later on. Now I'm using a Warlock Purple to highlight these shoulder gadgets, I guess is the best way to, enhancements maybe, also on her elbow. I just like this color pink. I think it looks really cool. We'll be touching the highlights up with this one with Pixie Pink later on. So just a couple of really neat pink colors to do these parts of the model. She also has some nodules or different kinds of enhancements on her abdomen there that I'm using for gunmetal. We'll come back with the Warlock Purple on those as well later on. Using it for some of those cylinders on the back of her pouch and the latch on her satchels and everything like that. Using a dark tone for the shade effect here, and you just have to make sure that this dries really well before you move on. Now I'm going back and touching up, as I said I was going to, with the Warlock Purple on those nodules that are on her abdomen. Also using the Warlock Purple to come back and bring out some of those highlights on these different parts that I've covered over with the shade. So we'll go back later and provide further detail with the Pixie Pink, but you want to use the base colors that you've already got and provide a little bit more detail after you've darkened them with the shade. Now I'm going back and using some of the shining silver to come back and just touch on some of the high points where the light would be hitting, that kind of stuff on those different models after you've used the shade. Now I'm going back with the Orc Blood and using that to provide some detail and highlight, just a lighter shade of purple on those different highlights on her legs and her abdomen and stuff like that. Just places where the light would be reflecting off of that purple color a little bit differently. Now I'm coming back with that monster brown I talked about earlier and touching up different parts of the details for those satchels and her belt and all of that kind of stuff, and down on her boots as well. And that's pretty much it. This is what we have. I'll use the matte black and the demonic yellow to keep that street vibe going. And there you have it. Well, that's about it for this episode. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We certainly hope that this has been informative and entertaining. We want to show you guys how simple it is to get pretty good looking minis on the table really quick, and that's the whole point of these videos, is to give you guys kind of a process for getting there. So we hope that is the case. Next week we're going to be taking a week off, and then we'll be back with another set of 3 minis and 3 videos, 1 each week. After that, 1 week off. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. Spread the word. Let everybody know that we're doing these things so that we can get more people interacting here. Join our Discord channel. We're going to be doing some great stuff over there. We already have started doing some great stuff over there. Check out all of our social media channels. Those are going to be coming here at the end of the video. And we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care. Have fun gaming.